I had a 17-year-old little brother, and one day he took off. And when he came back, he was telling me, that some guy had murdered three guys. And so a couple of days later, we wake up to banging on the door, and you had all kinds of cops here. The narcos was here, and they just raided my house. They were looking for the guns. They were looking for everything and anything that they could find. Hi, my name is Maribel Cota, and this is my story. So we're here in MANNY, and I don't know, this street, it made a big impact in my life. Not good impact, but it was it was just devastating for me to come back. I was stuck here in this dead end street for like 12 years. I couldn't come out, and I started partying here, as probably like 13 years old. By the age of 15, I got strung out. And at 15, from 15 to 28, I couldn't get out of this street. At first, it was all fun and games, partying, coming here, meeting up with the guys. And before you knew it, I got strung out. I just couldn't come out. I was in a bondage. I was in a state of bondage here. And I got strung out on heroin, and I was sleeping actually here in this street in a car. Just a little bit down the ways. I was washing my hair at Carl's Jr. It's just hard, ugly times for me here. I remember one time when because I used to live also right here at the corner as a little girl, and I would look out my window. I lived on the second story, and I would look out my window. Late at night, there would be cars coming in, and the guys from the gang, from the Vadio, they would stop the people that were coming in, and they would make them give them all the money and stuff. And I would be like, wow. So, and nobody was able to enter into the street without getting taxed or getting ripped off and stuff. And here in this dead end too, there was stabbings, there was fights and stuff like that. People would come in, and it was a dead end, so it was easy, to trap people in here and stuff. But there was stabbings and fights and stuff like that. Usually because, of the neighborhood or because of drugs. It was either one or the other. I was usually like just ripping people off for drugs. I remember one time I started selling heroin, and this girl ended up burning me and stuff. So we ended up fighting and stuff. But it was always just about like drugs and, burning people or, stealing people's batteries and stuff like that. So it was always mainly pointed to either, what neighborhood you were in or because of the drugs and stuff. So basically this side of town, it's ugly memories for me and stuff. I didn't really care about anybody at that time. I just cared about, what I was into, and we would always come here. Once I had moved out of here, I would always come back just to sit here and party, with the guys and stuff. A group of girls, we would come back and party with the guys here and stuff. So, well, I grew up from Flores. I have two older brothers. They're from Flores, and then the father of my three kids, he's from Hayes. Which were rival gangs at the time. So I'm here, hanging out in Monte Hayes, and my brothers didn't like that too much, especially when they would try to come here and gang bang. I remember there was a party at one time, and Monte Hayes was having a party, and I was there, and then Flores came in, and they broke up the party, and I'm stuck like in between, Monte Flores, which, was my brother's barrio, and then Monte Hayes, which was the father of my kids. So I didn't really know what to do, but I ended up taking off with the father of my kids and stuff. So I was like in between gangs and stuff like that. So one time I remember me and the father of my kids, we were just, walking. It was probably around 6 o'clock. And some guys in a white van, they actually opened the van and they dragged him in there, and I'm over here trying to help him and stuff. But they were trying to take him, and that wasn't the first time though. I just he used to sell heroin and stuff, and so they were always trying to kidnap him or take him. One time we were in a motel, him and I actually had one of my daughters at the time, and we answered the door, and there was these two guys. They were wearing masks. They came into the motel room, and they tied him up, and I got my daughter and I just ran out. And so there was just different things that had happened during the time that I was strung out and just hanging out in the neighborhood and stuff. But I tend to just kind of block a lot of things because it's just hard for me to remember all this stuff. I remember one time, sometimes you just get so desperate when you're out there and strung out, and you see other girls making fast money, and so one time this girl asked me, if I wanted to pull a trick, and I was so naive to it. And so I said, "What's a trick?" And she said, where you just sleep with someone and make quick money. And and at first I was like, wow, that's kind of gross, but your desperation, out of desperation, you go to that point. And so I remember I did it, and it just felt so ugly after, but the money, it was there. And so just not being sick, I didn't want to be sick. And so out of desperation, you do things that you never before in your life ever think that you're ever going to do. So I would hang out here. I actually lived here in one of the cars. We would park it in one of the garages down the street, and that was our home. I didn't have anywhere to bathe or anywhere to brush my teeth and stuff. So every morning what I would do is just go to Carl's Jr.'s down the street. And as long as my hair is now, that's how long my hair was back then, probably even longer. But I would wash my hair at Carl's Jr. with the dish, the hand soap. I would wash my hair in the sink, and sometimes it was humiliating. People would come into Carl's Jr. and to the restroom and want to go in there and use the restroom, and I was here washing my hair in the sink. And I know that in my time, it was humiliating for me. Definitely, it's very rough, because as being a female, you go through your, different changes, and and so it's very humiliating. People look down on you. You become like a ghost. Nobody, they see you, but they don't see you, and they'll see you and they'll just pass right by you and stuff. So you just become kind of like, just somebody walking down the street that nobody really cares about. I found out another way to make money, for my drug habit. And so I started selling drugs, and the guys, they found out that I was selling. And so one time this guy just came in and he burned me for, the drugs that I was selling and stuff. So he ended up, hitting me and stuff, and he took the drugs away. And now here I am having to see what I was going to tell the connection where his money was at, because I had to give him either the drugs back or the money. And so yeah, I've been assaulted before from guys. But you do anything that you can to survive out here in the streets. So this house behind me, this duplex, I lived here for many years. A lot of things happened here as well. I can remember one time there was this girl. She used to live the second, house down. And one day she just kept provoking me. And I really didn't want to do anything because, I was on heroin. And I knew that if the cops were going to come, I was going to get arrested for an under the influence. And so my sister was like, "Why are you letting her tell you anything?" I'm like, "You know what, just leave her alone." So I came out of the house, and all of a sudden I said, "You know what, forget this. So I ended up fighting her. So as I'm fighting with her, all her four sisters come out. My sister comes out. My mom comes out. And so here we are having a brawl right here in front of this house right here. And so we just ended up, fighting and stuff. And after that, after I left my house, I would always just carry knives or, a bat or something like that, just in case they would try to come at me again. But there was another incident that happened here that is very close to my heart as well. I had a 17-year-old little brother, and one day he took off. And when he came back, he was telling me, that some guy had murdered 3 guys. And so a couple of days later, we wake up to banging on the door, and you had all kinds of cops here. The narcos was here, and they just raided my house. They were looking for the guns. They were looking for everything and anything that they could find. And so they just turned our house upside down, trying to look for guns or knives, anything that had to do with that murder. And so that day they ended up taking my brother, which was 17 years old. And he's still incarcerated at this time, which he's 45 years old now. So he was also from Flores too. But there's just a lot of things that have happened here in this house as well. I remember just standing right here. There actually used to be a palm tree right here. One time I was standing out here smoking a cigarette, and then some guys, they just ended up shooting this way, where one of the bullets ended up in the window. So just thank God that God was always protecting us and stuff. So just a lot of things have happened. Every Friday night, if the cops weren't here, it was very rare. Cops were always in and out of this driveway right here. It's a lonely life, even though you're hanging out with people and you feel like you're having fun, but that fun is only for a moment. It doesn't last a lifetime. And when you end up getting, in trouble, everybody seems to just disappear. I ended up getting busted, and I gave an alias, and they wanted to wait until the fingerprints came out, and so I ended up being released that night. And so 2 weeks later, I was out here smoking a cigarette, and all the cops from MANNY were looking for me because they wanted to know who was the girl that, talked the jailer into letting her go before the fingerprints came out. But I still ended up getting busted 2 weeks later for giving for the under the influence and stuff. But the other times, it's so humiliating when you end up getting busted. It's, they just humiliate you, and you just become a number. You end up fighting in there as well. I ended up getting, in fights in there, and it just seemed like no matter where you went, you were always having to defend yourself. You were always having to, either trying to make a name for yourself and trying to let everybody know who you were. There was never peace. Never peace. I fought in there. I fought out here. I think that this world makes you become a person that you don't want to become. It hardens your heart, and you just become this person that only this world, it fills you up with rage and hatred, and you don't trust nobody, and so you just become this person that you never think that you would become. But yeah, the jail, it's just something else, very humiliating. It brings you to a low point in your life. So I had praying parents. My mom and dad would always pray for me. Even though, as growing up, my dad was an alcoholic. He ended up getting saved. At the age of 15, my mom and dad started going to Pentecostal church. They were always praying for me. And one day, at the age of 28, I got out of jail. I didn't want to use anymore. And something just happened, and something clicked in my life where I got tired, and I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Same same thing, drugs, alcohol, different people, men, women, relationships. And so I just got tired and I cried out to God and I said, Lord, there's something that you need to do within my life. I don't want to be like this anymore. And I just wanted to become a better daughter to my parents. And I wanted to become a better mother as well to my kids that I had left, and I had abandoned my kids with my parents, to be out there in the streets. But God came in and he rearranged my life. He changed the way I thought. He gave me the great exchange. He turned my sorrow into joy. He turned my grief into happiness. And he just changed my mindset, where now I don't live a life trying to hide from people or trying to prove to people who I am. Now I know who I am. I know who my God is. And therefore I walk in the confidence of God. And I know that no matter whatever happens to me now, that all things will work out together for my good, because I love the Lord and he is my God. He is my Savior. He is my all. So I ended up getting my kids back. My 3 older kids, I ended up getting my kids back. I ended up marrying a good man. I've written 2 books. My husband passed away from cancer, but I still have that peace and that joy in my life that only God can give me. And I'm happy because I know that, the life that God has for me is more than enough. It's more than sufficient. And so if it wasn't for him, I would probably be insane right now. I would probably still be a drug addict. I'd probably still be homeless. But it's because of him that I am sane. And only God was able to do that. What institution couldn't do, what the correctional institute couldn't do, what rehab programs couldn't do, God did that. And so, my kids are proud of me. They're proud to say that I'm their mother, and just want to leave a legacy for them. And I want to help and encourage others from my story, because I know that there's others out there that have gone through what I've gone through. And so if I made it and I pulled through, regardless of what I went through, I know that others can also make it as well.